Ross Perot made billions and gave away millions. His philanthropy is likely unmatched in North Texas. He gave to the Boy Scouts and Girl Scouts, veterans, the homeless, the arts, and the sciences. As Teresa Woodard reports, Dallas is a different place because this one man made his home here.
He absolutely would have loved to see this today.
He seemed to thrive on the energy of watching people better themselves.
Who was Ross Perot? He was kind, compassionate, incredibly generous.
His own kids made a $50 million donation in their parents' honor to put the family name on this iconic Dallas museum.
He loved to walk around and see people enjoying the museum. He was very humble.
His name is visible here, but not everywhere, even though H. Ross Perot's hands shaped the footprint of Dallas. Ross Perot donated millions of the billions he made to the symphony, opera, and arts museums. The Dallas Arts District likely wouldn't exist without him. He shared his wealth with organizations that help the least wealthy among us, like The Bridge, the North Texas Food Bank, and the Salvation Army. But Perot probably made no greater impact than through his donations to healthcare. Through the years, he gave UT Southwestern Medical Center more than $100 million.
The dollar figure is around $100 million. The value is vastly in excess of that because not only was he providing money, he was providing inspiration and guidance. He would come by and see patients at 10 o'clock at night, at 8 o'clock in the morning.
Perot was a native Texan, but not a tall Texan, just 5'6". His generosity, though, leaves a legacy that is larger than life.
This city wouldn't be what it is without him.
That's correct.
In Dallas, I'm Teresa Woodard.
Some names are just imprinted into the fabric of Texas history, like Perot or Bush. Today, former President George W. Bush said of his fellow Texan, Ross Perot epitomized the entrepreneurial spirit and the American creed. He gave selflessly of his time and resources to help others in our community, across our country, and around the world. Perot lived a long and very full life. We've got previous stories on Perot and his legacy at WFAA.com.